Hey all, good morning. Actually, I should have probably tested out to make sure that my audio was actually working. It's been kind of like a hectic morning. Everybody's running a little bit behind. So forgive me for signing on late, but I am here and we're gonna keep moving forward, keep writing, because that's what we're here to do. And if you thought I wasn't going to be on, clearly I'm here because I'm here standing on some big business, the biggest business, um, which is continuing to do what it is I love to do and what I hope that you guys love to do as well. So, just to kind of get the big fat pink elephant out the way, I know a lot of us, if you're American specifically, but also a lot of people across the world were really looking and watching over the election results. There was like a lot of anxiety and a lot of like fear and trepidation. And, we have gotten some of our results back. And it is what it is, unfortunately. At least, for those of us who did not see the election go the way they wanted to go. Um, but I wanted to actually come on here to continue offering some kind of like reprieve, release, some way of, how do you say? Like being able to take everything that you're feeling and thinking, good, bad, indifferent, in between, and channel it into an outlet that's going to be the most beneficial for you. And for me, because for me, writing is my like stress relief. Writing is where it's like my safe space. And I want to continue to create for not just myself, but for everybody else, that similar safe space. Where you can come and collect, just sit in sort of like in online union, right? And just do what it is you love to do with a little bit of guidance and hopefully like a little bit of, levity involved in that as well. All right. So we're going to jump into it today. And I am feeling in like a gift giving mood. So I am going to, if you're attending this live right now and you don't know if you're going to be on for the entire time or you just don't know what the tea is, it's fine. Drop a comment unless like you're lurking because I do have some folks who lurk and I do have some respectfully some ops. I don't presume that any of my ops are watching, but like if you are willing to drop a comment, either if you're on YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, to put your name into the raffle for what I'm giving away today, which is going to be a super cute coffee mug and a gourmet 12 pack of hot chocolate to go with that coffee mug. Feel free to drop that in drop your, not even your name, but like just drop like a hey, a hi, or what have you in the comment section. Or if you're even watching this after the fact, drop a hey or hi in the comment section. Hilariously, the moment I said I have lurkers and ops, like two people jumped right off the line. No shade. If it doesn't apply, then like definitely let it fly. But if it does, like work on that. Okay, so let's get back into it. All right. So yes, I am giving away something really cute. Like I promised I would at the very beginning of this. It is time for a giveaway. Today is giveaway day. So just drop a hi, a comment, whatever, so that I know who to give something free to. Otherwise, I'm gonna give myself a gift because I deserve it. All right, so let's jump right into it. Okay, I'm rambling. Today we're going to talk about log lines, right? And let me actually pull this up on the screen. And again, forgive me. I'm going from like task to task to task. Like, I'm like kind of looking, feeling kind of crusty. Skin is dry. Like it's giving like, I cannot get it together. So excuse me on that. But I am here and I do want to share with you the mini lesson that we're doing for it today. All right. Okay. Let's present. I didn't even have a chance to change my background. Like you see the cute background behind me because Colby's Cozy Cafe is open, but I did not get to change the background of the cafe. So I'm just all over the place, but we're just gonna make it work. All right, hold on. Love it. I love this for us. Let's talk about log lines and by extension blurbs. Just want to make sure you guys can see it. Perfect. You can see it. You can see me. Got my little publishing press logo in the top right corner, and we are ready to go. So, yesterday, the day before, were two really important lessons on your character's internal conflict, their inner struggle, so to speak, and how we can build that internal conflict and that tension inside of your character by building up the character's critical history. And some of you are reaching out to me and saying that this is useful for you, and I'm really happy that you feel that way. I'm glad that you can kind of look at this and practice these skills. And those are particular skills that you want to keep practicing, because today, when we talk about log lines and blurbs, we're going to have to take the characters, well, certain elements of the character's critical history, and we're going to have to smash it up against the external conflict, right? Whatever externally is happening around them, whatever the inciting incident, wow, words, whatever the inciting incident is, you're going to have to smash that up against your character. And then you're going to have to talk about basically what is going to happen to the character and or the world if they are not able to overcome this external trigger. All right. And that is essentially what a log line is. I'm going to give you a hardcore definition in a second. Before I jump into it, I do just want to remind you guys, if you're just coming here to like join one of the giveaways, grab some free books, check out the book of the day, you are more than welcome to pop in and then pop back out. The links are in the description. And also this is going to be recorded, so you can always, stream this a little bit later. Okay, just want to remind you that that's available. Okay, let's move forward. Okay, animation is coming through. All right, so let's talk about log lines and blurbs, right? I actually wanted to inject, and I actually might show you guys a log line, or rather the blurb, for one of my books, the first book of Ezekiel. And I also might share, I'm thinking, you know what? I'm going to share the blurbs for both. Why not do like a little bit of self promotion? Because both blurbs are really good, in my opinion. And it can kind of give you an idea as to how we are setting up all of the conflicts that we have talked about thus far to describe like a really interesting, compelling world that your readers or your viewers might be interested in diving into. All right, let's just get into it. So what's a log line? A log line is a 1 to 3 sentence description of your story that describes a character, the flaw, the character's flaw, obviously, the inciting incident, the dilemma, and the stakes. In sci-fi and fantasy in particular, right, there's always this context behind the character. So you'll want to also describe the larger magical, scientific, or dystopian context, right? So, it's not enough that you come out of the gate saying, bored and uninspired Luke Skywalker has his world turned upside down when stormtroopers destroy his hometown and, forces him on a journey of self-discovery, which leads him to, being the leader of the, rebellion or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's cool. Like, that sounds interesting. But you're going to generate some natural questions like, what's a stormtrooper? Why are there several planets? What's happening? You know what I'm saying? So you need to have a starter sentence or some sentence in there that establishes the context of the science fiction or the fantasy story. All right. Let me actually show you some examples now. Give me 1 second. I'm going to stop sharing and then I'm going to pull up. No, that was actually stupid. I shouldn't have stopped sharing, but that's okay. I'm going to pull up some examples here. I think I really liked Game of Thrones description. Okay, here we go. Let's work with this description here, the Game of Thrones description. And then we're going to study the Hunger Games description as well. All right. So for those of you who might be still looking, listening, this is for you. Okay. So as you can see here, I'm just going to highlight the description on the page. It says, winter is coming. Such is the stern motto of House Stark, the northernmost of the fiefdoms that owe allegiance to King Robert Baratheon in far-off King's Landing. There, Eddard Stark of Winterfell rules in Robert's name, right? So before we even know what the conflict is, before we know what the character flaw, and all that stuff is, before we know any of that, we have a sentence that gives us some context, right? And in this next part of the paragraph, we have even more context. The blurb lays out Ned Stark's family, Catelyn, their sons and daughters, and then, the bastard son, Jon Snow, right? And then it's not until like the fourth sentence or so, third or fourth sentence, that we actually start to get a hint of what the conflict is, right? There's a lot of things that they're contending with beyond the wall. They say savage wildlings and worse, unnatural things relegated to myth during the centuries-long summer, but proving all too real and all too in the turning of the season. So after we've established the fantastical context, right, or I would say the feudal context as well of the story, now we're getting into the actual conflict portion, right? So that's just one example. I'm going to show you another example of how certain sci-fi and fantasy novels deal with character and flaw and conflict and the inciting incident, but still establish the world first in their blurb and in their log line. Okay. Okay. Here's an example from the Hunger Games book 1. Boom. This whole intro blurb is context. In the ruins of a place once known as North America lies the nation of Panem, a shining capital surrounded by 12 outlying districts. All right. So just in the first part of this sentence, we know that the place is destroyed. It's in ruin. It used to be North America, and now it's a new nation called Panem. We get a lot of not scientific, but dystopian context. All right. Long ago, the districts waged war on the capital and were defeated. As part of the surrender terms, each district agreed to send one boy and one girl to appear in an annual televised event called the Hunger Games, a fight to the death on live TV. Okay, boom. We haven't even met the character yet, but we are already getting the dystopian context. You're going to treat your logline situation, and I used to be able to, hold on one second. There we go. Share this tab instead. So we have, like, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. We haven't met the characters yet, quite yet, but you see the context that's being built, right? And so this is something that, especially if you're writing in the fantastical realm, that you want to kind of nail that context down in about a sentence or two. Usually in a logline situation, a logline is not a particularly long description that comes from movies, right? It's usually maybe one sentence, one or two sentences to really encapsulate what the film or the TV series is going to be about, and it has to do a lot of heavy lifting. For you and what you're doing for your story, try to, I would say you can keep the log line anywhere from 1 to maybe 3, maybe even 4 sentences, right? And use that first sentence to really establish the context and the background. Okay, I kind of went into the lesson before giving you the overview. Sorry about that. We're also going to be going into the blurb, right? Which in my view is the 300-word log line. That's going to be a longer, more compelling description of your story that entices readers and viewers, depending on what you're creating, to snatch that story off the shelf. It's an extension of the log line, okay? So I want to show you guys now a comparison between the blurb for the Hunger Games book and the log line that is on, say, IMDb. Frankly, nowadays, and this is no disrespect, I don't necessarily think that most log lines are like the best log lines, to be honest. But that's just my opinion, whatever. Okay, let's switch views. So looking at the Hunger Games log line on imdb.com, right? It's very simple and straightforward. Katniss Everdeen voluntarily takes her younger sister's place in the Hunger Games. a televised competition in which 2 teenagers from each of the 12 districts of Panem are chosen at random to fight to the death, right? Um, I think that in this case, and this is not me making excuses for people, but like the Hunger Games was very well known as a franchise, right? So maybe in this situation, whoever wrote this log line didn't feel the need to establish so much context. I'm going to say it's going to be important for you because it's something that, in my opinion, you should be keeping at the very, very top of your screen with every single book you write and breaking it down, every chapter you write, every scene you write. Like, keep the log line in the front of your mind so that you are deliberately driving every single chapter, every scene, every sentence, every bit of dialogue towards the resolution of that log line. Okay. It's kind of like writing the theme down and keeping it at the top of your screen. It helps you to stay focused. All right. So, and it helps you to essentially remember in a nutshell all the things that you want to capture in your novel, in your chapters, etc. So, and again, this is just, I'm not a guru. This is just my perspective on how to create a great log line, why you should and how you should use it to become a better writer. My thing is that number one, if you create a log line, there are certain parts of the log line that should be involved, that should be included in the log line, right? There's certain elements. And secondly, that I do firmly believe that each of your characters should have their own log line. The reason being is that if you're doing really great character development, this is not to say that they're all the main character, but they do have their own lives. Just like how you're the main character of your life, but everybody else around you, even the quote NPCs of your life, they still have their own story. They still have their own critical histories. They still have their own arcs and they still have their own log lines. And they still have their own inciting incident, right? If you are in, for example, or rather when Katniss was thrown into the Hunger Games, she's the main character, but there are other people in the story who have their own perspective, their own log lines, their own stakes, their own wounds, and their own reactions to the inciting incident. Peeta, Katniss, and Gale, very different people, just at core, and how they react to how they are picked is different, right? So, in order to bring out that multidimensionality for your character, and then also to make sure you keep the external conflict in full view, and that you're continuing to ratchet up the conflict, creating a log line is key. So, from my view, there are 6 parts of a log line. There's the state of the world or the character, and I just talked about that. There's you describing the main character with key traits and flaws. Then you're going to, and again, this is just my particular formula. You're going to have a mini sentence, mini nod towards the character's flaw and their narrative worldview, right? You're going to describe how the flaw keeps the main character trapped in a tough or unproductive place, both externally and internally, right? Then you want to include the inciting incident, right? The character is in this world, they're naive and unawares and don't take control of their life, and they feel like that's okay, and they waste their time. But when an evil force from on the outer rim comes and destroys everything they know and love, MC realizes that it was their own sloth and lack of initiative that is what allowed this to happen, right? Now we go on to the dilemma because we've just addressed the inciting incident. And the dilemma is MC must now decide whether they're going to take on this external force, full on and claim their destiny, or if they're going to insert other consequence here where they don't do anything and everything is screwed, right? So when you get to the dilemma, you have to sort of demonstrate to a certain degree a clear choice. You don't have to, and you don't have to follow this exact formula, but I think that the dilemma should be embedded, right, in the character's decision or the character's reflection on whether or not they should take on this external evil or external incident, right? And then finally, we need to know what the stakes are. If, like for example, Luke Skywalker, right, doesn't leave his hometown as little, he's like kind of like a farm boy, right? A farm boy. If he doesn't leave his former life and do da 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 da, like the Sith are going to take over and destroy the universe, or whatever the case is. For those of you who are super Star Wars fans, I love Star Wars, but like some of you are like diehard fans. Forgive me if I'm butchering any of this. Drag me later. But you get the drift of what I'm trying to express to you guys, that in your log line, you should try your best to have all 6 of these elements, right? So I want to show you, it's not necessarily a log line. It's actually, you know what? Let me show you. I'm going to show you what I did for When in Rome. Let me see if I can pull that up, because I feel like I had to distill that to a log line and to a blurb. And I think that could be a good example. And again, I'm not a guru. I'm not like trying to tell you exactly how to write your log lines, or just saying to you like, I'm the best in the universe at writing log lines, but it's something that I've practiced. Hold on. Oh, actually, like this log line doesn't even really encapsulate the full. Let me just find it for you guys. I promise you, I wanted to be so much more prepared for this, but again, things have been very back to back this morning. Okay, series log line. Let's do bleeding edge Banana Republic from my little pitch document. Oh, this is a cute blurb, but that's actually, it's being pitched right now, so I'm not going to share that, but I'll share something else with you guys. Synopses and series description. That's also kind of long. Let me actually see. Sorry, team. I don't like thinking that I'm wasting people's time, but I mean, hey, we're here, right? Let me see what I wrote on Kindle Vella, because that's where it's published right now. Ah, here we go. This is a pretty good log line. Let me share my screen now. Okay, I hope you guys can actually see it. All right. So, When in Rome. Yeah, I know it's winding down. Thank you. So it says Rome, a cyber city and fledgling empire modeled off one of Earth's most formidable ancient dynasties. Here, the gods sleep. Mortals are controlled by fate cards, predestiny programs designed by the 3 Parkai themselves. That is until a lone assassin, known only as the Stranger, murders them. Free for the first time, 5 syndicates, a wayward bounty hunter, and an investigator will decide whether to serve the gods and Rome, or to abandon both in a bid for ultimate power. Okay? So actually, in my humble opinion, this is actually a really good, I would say kind of chunky log line here, but it encapsulates pretty much everything I was talking about. The first part, the first 3 sentences is me establishing the science fiction cyberpunk context of this story, right? Then the next sentence, even though it doesn't go in order, it harks to the inciting incident, right? So I establish a world, then there's an inciting incident that blows that whole world up, okay? Now I'm introducing the characters. And for this particular series, it is pretty epic. And I don't mean that in a congratulatory way. I mean that in like a size way, right? There are a lot of characters, a lot of different intersecting storylines. So there are a lot of like main characters, kind of like how Game of Thrones goes. Like that's an epic story in terms of like the number of characters that are introduced and that we follow. Same thing for When in Rome, right? So I can't really go into every single character's critical history here or their flaws, but I am introducing them here. And I'm also giving you a little bit of detail, free for the first time, right? So you know people are going to act a fool. We got 5 different syndicates, which are like essentially, you know, gangs, you know, organized crime, which are essentially like the 5 families of Rome. Well, the 4 families of Rome and 1 of Egypt. Um, and then you have a bounty hunter, and I use a trait to describe the bounty hunter. She's wayward, right? And an investigator. And I could have actually done a little bit better here by picking a really great adjective to insert in front of the 5 syndicates here and in front of the investigator, right? The investigator is William Shakespeare. Billy Bard is what he's called in the series, because again, this is a cyberpunk adaptation of William Shakespeare's Roman history tetralogy. And I treat William Shakespeare as an observer, and essentially like he is the audience surrogate, right? That we'll be walking along with as he watches Rome descend into craziness, right? But I could have used like a disgraced investigator, you know, or whatever. Like there's a lot of things that Billy Bard is in this series that I could have used to describe him, right? But here's where I'm introducing the characters. And then here's where I'm introducing the dilemma and the stakes, right? And in certain instances, I will admit that the stakes are kind of implied, right? But all of them have to decide, are they going to serve the gods in Rome now that they're free, or are they going to abandon both in a bid for ultimate power? And in that description alone, I would say, even if it's not obvious what all of the conflicts are going to be, I think it's pretty clear that there are some clear consequences for both paths, right? We said that mortals have been controlled by the fate cards, these predestiny programs, but now they're free. So you know they're finna act a fool. You know they don't want to serve the gods and Rome anymore, right? But then there might be some who are like super religious or super pious who do want to serve the gods in Rome, right? And for those of us, or those of them, you know what I'm saying, who don't want to serve the gods of Rome, they're going to abandon both Rome and the gods in a bid for ultimate power. And you know that's going to mean conflict, right? So this is I think a good opportunity. If you're watching this later, you can use this as one of your examples. Obviously, like, you know, don't steal it, but like you can use it as a structural example to build your own blurb. And again, the purpose of that, y'all, is not for anything else than to really home in on the central conflicts, both internal and external, the theme, the character flaws, so that that is in front of you and you are regrounded in that every single time you go to sit down and write. Okay, so we're gonna go back to this screen and let me see if there's anything else I have for you guys. All right, so actually I'm glad that that was kind of short. Your assignment for today, we're gonna go back to that former slide and give you your writing prompts around log lines and blurbs. But before I do that, just a quick reminder that the 3 book promos, the 3 free bars book promos are available for you to jump into and download those books at your leisure. Our 2 giveaways are open. I don't see any comments or highs in the chat, so I guess the gift I was going to give away today is going to me. So if you want to be eligible to be a random winner of today's like mini giveaway, then drop a comment and say hello in the chat. If you don't, then that's cool. I'll save it for a different day and I'll get myself a gift because, again, I deserve it. Okay. And then, of course, we have the books of the day in the description. And you'll notice, even though I haven't updated this slide, and I do want to update the slide, there are 2 books of the day. There's, again, Jen Grisanti's TV writing toolkit, where she definitely goes into log lines and blurbs and stuff like that. So definitely check it out. And then also in the description is Blake Snyder's Save the Cat, the last book on screenwriting you'll ever need. There's a link to that. And he certainly goes into like log lines and the purpose of them and things of that nature. Okay, again, I see far because I stand on the shoulders of giants. All right, team, let's get into writing. You guys can read. So I'm not going to read these out for you, but I am going to throw on some music. Wish you happy writing, and I'll be right here with you until it's time for me to clock in. Happy writing. Thank you. All right, guys, my lovely writers, it is time for me to clock out of this and clock in to my regular day job. And I hope that you guys found this mini lesson helpful. Sorry that it was a little bit kind of touch and go and all over the place, but I hope that I was able to demonstrate to you guys the importance of having a really great log line. We talked about log lines versus blurbs, what they are. I gave you a breakdown of how you can start putting together a log line, and I told you that you should create one for each of your characters, and that you should keep your series or your book log line at the top of your writing software, at the top of your notebook, on a wall somewhere, so that every time you're writing a scene, every time you're writing dialogue, you can remind yourself exactly how and why you're going to be driving that scene towards that particular conflict, that particular stake. You always want to be driving your scenes, your characters, and their dialogue and the dramatic tension towards the conflicts and also towards the stakes. Okay? So, just to remind you once again, Colby's Cozy Cafe is open. You get to download books from 3 free promos that we have going on right now, and grab your books of the day. Join the giveaways if you haven't already, and if you have, keep checking back for opportunities to increase your entries. And I know that you guys kind of see the same promos every single day. We will be rolling out some new promos in about 3 days' time, so stay tuned for that. And I hope you got a lot of fantastical writing done. All right. Okay. So have a great day. Take care of yourselves. Put self-care first. Take it easy. Take it one thing, 1 minute at a time, and keep writing, because it's in these times of hardship or uncertainty, at least for some of us, one of the best things you can do for yourself is to engage in self-care by doing the things that you love to do. Okay. Mwah. See you guys later. Bye.